According to the Canadian Association for the Performing Arts, 7 in 10 Canadians view arts and culture events to be either very important, 27%, or moderately important, 42%, to their overall family and quality of life. Furthermore, the association also reports that 79% of Canadians would miss if they didn't have any form of live performing arts theater in their local community. So, therefore, as the coronavirus pandemic continues to get eradicated across the country, the performing arts theater industry will be one of those industries which will need our support to come back bigger and better than before and have a robust recovery. So my friends, with that in mind, the question is, how would we classify the current state of community theater here in Windsor and Essex County? Corey Robertson is the president of the Bank Theatre in Leamington, Ontario. My old friend joined me this week to discuss the state of the industry, how industry professionals are staying connected during COVID, and how we can all lend a helping hand to make sure that the industry that so many Canadians love comes roaring back. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Corey, so if you're ready, I'll welcome you to the program, and I'm excited to talk to you about the state of community theater. Great to see you once again, and thanks for making a few minutes, buddy.
Great to see you again, Kevin. I'm always happy to talk about community theater. It's been a lifelong passion.
So, Corey, as you know, we're rounding the corner, hopefully, on the pandemic. So I'm just wanting to start a conversation by asking you to describe in your own words what you think the state of community theater currently is, buddy.
Well, I think, first of all, I think that your assessment is correct, that we're rounding that final corner in the pandemic, that I think the light is at the end of the tunnel. Oh man, at least I hope so. But state of community theater, I think that certainly for our organization at the Bank Theatre in Leamington is this, and I like to think I speak on behalf of a lot of my colleagues. The state of community theater is we are ready. We've got, in our case, we've got our volunteers, our actors, our producers, our set designers, everybody who's involved in community theater. They're itching to get going. They're itching to get back out onto the stage. And Kevin, we've got, as I'm sure we've got a saying in the theater: the show must go on. And we're at that point. We're ready. The show must go on.
Absolutely. And tell me, what creative ways do you think that you've been able to stay connected with the actors and other industry professionals during COVID?
I think we've had to do what everybody's doing, yourself included, Kevin. I think the way that we've been able to do it in the last year and a half is we've had to find ways to pivot during the pandemic and to somewhat reinvent ourselves. And you use what you have handy, and that is digital. That's the internet. That's finding ways to if it's not a podcast, to find a way to utilize YouTube channels and Facebook streams. and find ways to do that, to connect to our audiences, to connect to our members, and to connect with our, with our actors. The digital platform, I think, will stay with us for a while, because you'll find that there's a population that's ready to go out and see live theater and be comfortable being in public. But I think you'll also see a significant part of the population being a little bit more gentle, and not wanting to ease into it quite so quickly. And so I think digital will stay with us for a while, in terms of, that being a platform and a media by which, performing artists are able to get their art out there. The other way is the nature stage is being outside, because we know that that's safe. So we, I think we've got a lot of exciting things to talk about in terms of that as well, the outdoor natural stage.
Oh, since you brought it up, I'll let you segue into that right now, buddy. How are you using the outdoors to build profit and build excitement about the theater again?
Did I just set myself up for my own segue?
Hey, you did that. You've been in this business before. I can tell that.
So we team, at the Bank Theater, we're a nonprofit organization, we're a community organization, which means we're all volunteers. Every one of us are volunteers. And so, we're either retired or we have day jobs. And so you rely on the army of volunteers and other like-minded people and like-minded community leaders. So we teamed up with the Rotary Club of Leamington, and we teamed up with them to find a way. We started by asking ourselves, how can we together join forces, to find interesting and new ways to fundraise for the last year and a half when we've been closed. We can't sell tickets, we can't sell seats, we can't do shows. So we that's where, the original ideas started to come from. And what came out of those conversations was, let's use outside. And so we came up with this idea to do what we've called spirit walks. And we're at the point now where this is now fully developed. So we teamed with the Rotary Club, and we're going to be at Point Pelee National Park. Point Pelee has been awesome to work with. They've helped us with, with finding the right place within the park to do this. And what we're doing is we're taking people on a guided tour through the Delorier Trail through the park. And we've written scripts that are based on actual historical figures that have to do with the history of Point Pelee. And so we did we got the research done on who the historical figures were, and then we developed scripts. And with the help of Point Pelee, they vetted the historical accuracy of the scripts, and they helped us with how to do it safely in an outdoor setting. And so now the idea is, you can come and you can now have this theatrical experience that is truly exciting all of your senses, because you can be outside and you have the sights, the smells, the sounds. The actors are there as you go down the Delorier Trail. They come out at different stages, and they are, for example, a park ranger and the farmer that would have originally put in all of the apple orchards that are inside of Point Pelee Park, some of the loggers, the Deloriers themselves, and of course, you couldn't do it without having somebody who's a birder expert. So those actors kind of come out at you as you go down the trail. So you're getting exercise. We're getting out of the house finally for the first time in a year and a half, and we're bringing what we're now calling experiential tourism to the foreground. And what is most exciting about experiential tourism is it's redefining what the tourist consumer really wants, and we're finding that it's, I want more than just seeing the play. I want more than just seeing a concert. I want more than just going through the museum. I want more than just seeing the art gallery. I also want to say, can I be a part of it? Can I be truly interactive in that presentation? Can I get something to eat? Can I get something to drink? That goes along with it. So this is such an exciting project, and it's something that's really kickstarting people out of, you know, the pandemic, and in a safe and frankly in a fun way.
Absolutely, and I know that you guys applied for a $30,000 grant to do that project. So congratulations on getting it, first of all. And can you tell me, because I know community theater is all about engagement, and you talked earlier about the excitement of getting back to what you do best, entertaining people. But I'm also wondering how you engage new people that may not be have been exposed to community theater before.
Yeah, you know, I think that the way that the way that you do that is you follow really you follow just sound business principles. You make sure that you've got you make sure you've got a product that is quality. You make sure you've got a product that the consumer wants. You make sure that you've got a brand that has been built, that has some brand recognition, that has some trust behind it, and you market it effectively, no matter what your business is, for profit, not for profit. If you know, if you're in the media, if you're in retail, to me the principles are the same. And the biggest thing is am I communicating to the right person? Am I telling my story to the right person? I got to, with what I have to say, am I saying it to the right person at the right time in the right way? So for us to, you know, to engage with, you know, people that might not be familiar with what community theater has to offer, with what specifically the Bank Theater is to offer, I, as you know, I look for ways to say, okay, well, how do I get my message to that? And one of those things is to look for opportunities like you and I are doing right now, for me to say, you know, Kevin's got this great podcast, let's have this conversation. And now it's a great way for me to get my message to people that might not have ever known about it. So things like this, the way that we, you know, the way that we look at marketing, the way that we, you know, create a brand and be a part of people's lives in the community. I'll give you another great example how we are able to connect with people. So last year, the June 27 Miracle collective that Windsor and Essex just knocked out of the park. I mean, it's an unofficial world record how well we all did last year, and it'll be coming up again this year. We do our part as the community organization too. We made our theater available as a drop spot in the county for people to bring their donations to that, and then area captains came and picked it up, and we got it all, you know, accounted for. It's just all those little things that come together. How can we be a part of our community? You know, and all of us as volunteers and community leaders, you know, we are a part of the community already. And when you continue to do that and you look for new ways to tell your story, I think that is truly how you get your message to somebody who might not otherwise know.
Absolutely. You know, the June 27th Miracle last year, I did a podcast with the Unemployment Help Center to get the message out there as well. So I applaud your efforts there. And I know as President Corey that it's very important to you to also engage individuals with disabilities, and I know the theater is looking for different ways to welcome individuals with disabilities as well.
My friend, it's one of my things that I'm so proud of our organization for doing. So we have already previously been a successful recipient of a grant that is going to install a wheelchair lift into the theater, and it's actually going to be front of house, meaning it'll actually be able to lift from the audience up onto the stage. And what that really means is that it is going to make our theater one of the only truly, not just our theater, let me rephrase that. It's going to make our stage one of the only truly accessible stages in Ontario that certainly that I'm aware of. There are not that many. And so this, it's been a big part of you know of the Bank Theater's plan. It's actually a project that's been quite a few years in the making, and to see it come to fruition is just going to be absolutely wonderful, and it's just going to open up the possibilities of what we can do with a community theater. It's going to open that up so much more than it already is, and I think it's just something that a lot of people can feel extremely proud of.
Absolutely, and I look forward to testing out the ramp once it's built, but buddy, as you had extended that invitation to me, so I look forward to doing it with you, bud.
Absolutely. I want to see, absolutely. I can't wait to get you out to Leamington and get you on our stage, and we'll say break it in.
Yeah, you may not remember this, Corey, but I spent about 4 years out in Leamington doing some television work for CFTV 34, so it'll be nice to be back in tomato country again.
Yeah, indeed.
Hey, Corey, I'm also curious to ask you about your own personal passion for community theater and where that comes from.
Well, I was always, if I take it back, to being a kid, I think I was just always the kid in class that was, volunteering to do things, and, being a part of speeches, and being a part of, helping be on stage and whatnot. So by the time you get to high school, being in the drama club was just a big part of my high school life, and that led me to moving from Northern Ontario down to where we are here. So I went to the University of Windsor for the BFA program in music theater. And that was a few years ago. and, and that, so as that journey progressed me through the university years and post-university years, that got me involved, it kept me involved in theater, certainly community theater, as well as, the university level theater. And that, led directly to, some TV work that I had done back at that time, that was on what at the time we still called TV Kojiko, and of course now rebranded as Your TV. And then that was my leapfrog into, a career in radio for the better part of 18 years locally, in the Windsor stations, and then certainly out here at the Leamington station. So, and I always thought that played very well together. Every day that I went into the radio station, I thought it was my own little, one-man play, so to speak, or it was at least my one-man performance. And so that skill set has just literally stayed with me, professionally, but also personally. Being able to do community theater, is such a special experience, because you're opening yourself up to working with new people who see things in new ways, and everybody's coming at it from that it's just a personal passion point of view. You're not at community theater, you're not in it for the money, you're in it for the experience, you're in it for the art, you're in it for the story that it tells. And I think that's, well, it's for me anyways, where the passion for specifically community theater lies. It really is a community theater is a place where a small town tells its stories. And that's how we live and celebrate life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it also provides a local community like Leamington and the county a sense of human connection, and I think we're all searching for that as we come out of COVID too, bud.
Yeah, we sure are. And with that human connection comes bring back the business principles into the same conversation, because now what we've got is the ability to create true partnerships in a community at a time when we all need to have each other's back to bounce back from this pandemic. Out in Leamington, one of the things that I'm very proud of about the Bank Theater is that the municipality of Leamington has already considered us to be one of the 3 pillars of the Uptown Leamington core, in association with the Arts Center and the library. But in addition to that, we're one of only 4 groups in Leamington that the municipality has designated to be a municipal partner. And so we're looking at at arts and culture as one of the main economic drivers to help the municipality get back on its feet after a pandemic. And here's why. Here's how it works. If I can put together some partnerships for programming, and none of us have been able to go out and see anything for the last year and a half, and you can come to Leamington and you want to stop somewhere in one of our great local restaurants and have a bite to eat, and you get a chance to maybe do a little bit of shopping in the uptown area, you come see the show, maybe you even make a weekend out of it and stay in one of the hotels. So now has become a true economic spinoff that we all are going to benefit from. And as a community in a small town, it is really going to help to rebound that small community, and then it has the greater spinoff on our region, right? So if we macro that and start to look at Windsor-Essex as the region, you can't help but have that spinoff. It's a half hour, 40-minute drive between Windsor and Leamington, but let's look the other way too. It's the same half hour, 45-minute drive to Chatham. So now all of a sudden, we've got this brand new renovated theater that we can say is this gem in southwestern Ontario in the performing arts community, that if the art tourist is coming down here and we can create some solid partnerships of people who do believe in the same passion I'm talking about for community theater, and we see how it is this great economic spinoff that is going to help us all rebound, I'm telling you, we all are going to win and get ourselves back on our feet after a year and a half of this terrible pandemic.
Absolutely, and I think it also brings a new level of connectivity in the community as well.
True.
And I wanted to ask you also
True.
about your media career, but before I do that, I want to ask you about what would be your parting message as we sort of leave the community theater portion of this conversation to people that may not have been exposed to it before, or what do you think you would want them to know about its future?
Well, community theater is the future is very, very bright, because we become a hub for all things in the performing arts world. So this is not just about coming to see a play. It's also a concert, and it's also a variety show. And a theater is oh so much more than that. It's comedians, and maybe it's it's a series of seminars, and then community theater is more than just the physical space of the theater itself. We've at the Bank Theater, we've made such a incredible partnership with the municipality of Leamington that we've been able to partner with them to produce performing arts outside of the theater. So, for the summers of 2018 and 2019, we teamed with them to do the Summer Music on the 42 series at the amphitheater in Seacliff Park down by Lake Erie. We've also been able to work with the municipality on providing all of the performing arts behind their Mill Street night markets. Again, going back to 2019, before we were all locked down from doing these kinds of things. So community theater isn't just the building, and it's not just going to see a play. We become the hub for the type of art and collaboration that brings meaning to people's lives. I always talk about how theater is how a community tells its stories, but I mean, I'm reminded, honestly, Kevin, of an old quote that Winston Churchill had come up with back during World War II, when asked if for the war effort should they cut funding for the arts in England, and his answer was, "What else are we fighting for?" So when I put that back in context now, I say, performing arts is what gives us, context and a chance to tell the stories of our journeys, of our experiences. And whether that's through music, whether it's through drama, through dance, through photography, through visual arts, whatever that is, through culinary arts, broadcast arts, they're crafts where we can get together to tell our stories, make sure that there's some, some business behind it. We want to make sure we make some money off of this, and that that we all can live, our happy lives, and make sure our mortgages and car payments are made. And I think when you come at it from that point of view, community theater is the hub where you're going to get all of those experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we transition, I know that you spent in your previous life time as the program director over at 96.7 Cheer FM. So I'm curious to ask you about the state of our local media here in Windsor and Essex, and where you think that is now, buddy.
Am I one of the safe ones in Windsor that can answer that question?
Well, you're out of the industry now, so you can say whatever you want.
There's been a lot of shakeup. You know what? In my mind, the state of the industry is that local has to come first. Local absolutely has to come first. You can change your format all you want. If you want to talk about radio or TV stations or what have you, the content can change. That's fine. It's not about whether I'm playing soft AC music or country music or pop music or alternative rock music. That's not the part that's so important. What's so important is the local. I keep talking about it's how we tell our stories as a community. It's in radio that's where you're going to find out the simple things. Is traffic blocked up in your neighborhood or not? It's where you're going to find out how the local hockey team is doing, how the kids soccer teams are doing. It's where you're going to find what is your local municipal or city government officials, what are they doing and saying and enacting that affect your life directly. That's where you get those messages. So local absolutely has to come first in broadcasting, and certainly, we've still got our mainstay, on the AM dial with AM 800 is fiercely Windsor first, and that's something for us to all be very, very proud of. One of the things we're starting to see, I think, in broadcasting is a wider regional approach to it, and it's about the bottom line and saving money and not spending what's unnecessary. So while I definitely understand you got to run a business like a business, but if you don't have local first, I think that you can't win. And I think there's already been some evidence of that. If I can be honest about it, I think there's been some evidence. Kev, I'm not knee deep in this anymore, and I don't get to see, looking at the ratings as closely as I used to. But I still see a thing or two, and I can tell you that with some of the big switches that have happened recently in Windsor on the FM dial, the ratings. The ratings haven't been in their favor since the switch, and one of the big reasons is slipping away from local. So for me, I think the state of the medium is always going to be there. Radio will always be there. It's gonna survive just fine alongside digital, but it's got to be local first.
Corey, you brought me back to my first day of journalism school, where they told me to always localize the story. So thank you for dating myself that much.
Hey, listen, I'm not reinventing the wheel here either, my friend.
No, you're just reaffirming tried and true principles for sure.
It's true, and I think it's it's obvious to see that when your favorite sportscaster for 42 years, those are the people when somebody makes a connection, a personal connection in our broadcasters and in our our on-air personalities, as we like to say or call ourselves. When you've made that personal connection, man, that is what the job is about. Because as you well know, it's not the most well-paying profession that one could choose to get into. So we don't, again, you don't do it for the money, right? You do it because it's an art, because it's a craft, because it's you telling your story of your human existence. It's you telling your community story. And so when you make those connections, you know, whether you've been in the business for 6 years, 18 years, 42 years, when you make those connections, that's where, to me, it proves that adage is correct, that local has to come first, because it's that person who, you know, it's that person who's always championing the local, whether it's the sports team or the local food bank or the local business that just opened up or the local whatever. That's where we make those connections.
Yeah, Corey, I'm curious to ask you, what do you miss most about your former life in radio, if anything at all?
I think those connections, making those connections with people, that's you know, that having an ability to tell our collective stories of our, you know, of our community, to be able to talk about, you know, what different organizations are up to, you know, for example, you know, I don't know, like an organization that's near and dear to both yourself and to me. We'll say, you know, something like also the, you know, assisted living of Western Ontario, you know, to be able to say, what are they up to, and went to the Christmas party last night and talk about those things. And, you know, and whether it's talking about the Windsor Spitfires, and whether it's talking, you know, just about, hey, you know, those human connections is what I really miss most. Being able to tell our stories, being able to communicate, what did town council, you know, pass last night that is going to affect your life, or city council, as the case may be. You know, what is the safety message that the local fire chief needs to get out to the public? Being that platform, being that communicator, that's probably the biggest thing. It's making those personal connections with people.
Yeah, I always say, Corey, that life is a constant game of connection, and I have to tell you, you've been a gracious dinner date during those also Christmas parties, so I appreciate that, buddy. So.
They've been fun.
Absolutely. Congratulations is also in order for Robertson, who was named the 2020 recipient of the Positive Professional of the Year Award from the Leamington District Chamber of Commerce. I asked him to reflect on what it means to be recognized as a community leader in his hometown.
I don't think anybody ever volunteers to do anything for, you know, for the accolades. I think what I take away from that experience is it's so incredibly humbling. When I look at the list of people that I'm now added to, it kind of is a little bit mind-blowing to think that, you know, the year before me is Joe Oswald, who's the manager at the CIBC, and the year before him is Donnie Pacheco, who's one of the owners at Jose's, and there's some of they're, you know, those two guys are behind Hogs for Hospice. And you look back to just through some of the other big community leaders that you know, you have your name added to. I think the biggest thing that is so meaningful for me is that my recognition was in the year 2020, which I would argue is not a very positive year. In the middle of a worldwide pandemic, you know, to get that kind of honor, to get that kind of mention, it's incredibly humbling, and it's incredibly moving. I think the only way that, you know, that we get through something like a global pandemic, the only way that we rebound from it, in whether we call it step 1, step 2, step 3, I don't know about that stuff, but I think that the only way we can rebound from it is making the choice in our lives and in our businesses and in our passions. It's making the choice to be positive about it, because I can find a million things to be negative about in the year of 2020, and it's where we are in 2021. I don't need any help finding the things that are negative, but if I make the choice to focus on the positive, if I make the choice to say, it's going to be okay. If I make the choice to acknowledge I'm good at a few things, these are my strengths, and I'm going to follow those strengths and follow my dreams, That's how we're going to get out of this pandemic. That's how we're going to rebound. That's how we're going to pivot by let's get past the negative. It doesn't matter what you thought about the government's approach to how we were going to reopen things. And we try, it was open for a little while last summer and closed again, and then open for a while and then closed again, and then lockdowns and stay-at-home orders. And should I allowed to keep my restaurant open or not? And should I wear a mask or should I not wear a mask? Why? If I choose to focus on the negative, that negative energy is going to follow me throughout whatever it is. And now it doesn't become passionate anymore. If I choose to focus on the positive, then there's nothing we can't do together. There's no mess we can't clean up. There's nothing that can't get broken that we can't fix. I might have to change a little bit, but if I'm doing it positive, if I'm focusing on positive energy, if I'm focusing on choosing to be happy and choosing to celebrate things that are good and positive, that's how we win, and that's how we win together.
Absolutely. And Corey, my final question for you is something that we mutually share a passion for, and it's increasing the inclusion of people with disabilities within a societal life. I know that you have dedicated a lot of your time to the work from also and other community organizations. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on the importance of infusing more people with disabilities in societal life and the importance of that as well.
You know what? I think that, for me, it's an appreciation of what every one of us has a talent. Every one of us has the ability to do things. And when I can focus on what those things are, it can only serve to improve my business. It can only serve to improve my business model of how we're making money. If I can align the right employees into my culture, that is when we're going to be a success. So when I can look at what it is that you bring positive to the table, there's room for everybody. And we all need some help. We all need to make a positive impact on other people. We all need to make a living. And so when I align myself with the right person who really fits into my culture, and I can look at it and say, here's what your ability, is going to help advance our organization. I mean, man, how can you not?
Yeah, as I tell people with disabilities have to pay taxes too, so they need work in order to do that, right?
Yeah, that's a lighthearted way to put it. I like that. It keeps it nice and real. I think, again, Kev, I think the biggest thing for me is looking at what you can do.
For anyone looking to get involved with the Bank Theatre of Leamington, Robertson pulls back the curtain on how you can become involved and get on center stage with one of the community assets in the Sun Parlor of Canada.
Well, come to see us in Leamington is the first thing. We're ready to get open. We've got a grand reopening variety show. It'll launch soft as a digital version. We record next week, and we'll have the digital version up in a week or so. And then when we're allowed to have full capacity in the theater, we will have it on stage as a grand reopening variety show. Come out and see us at 10 Erie Street South in Leamington. But you can connect with us all the normal places that you would think. So thebanktheatre.ca is the website, and find us on Facebook, find us on Instagram, find us on TikTok. Yeah, we're there too. And those are the best ways to stay connected with us.
Corey, it's always a great pleasure for me to spend a few minutes with you. I want to applaud you for all the great community work you do and for joining me this afternoon. Your time, efforts, and insights are most appreciated. Always great to see you, and thanks for a few minutes, buddy.
It's been my pleasure, Kevin. Keep up the great work. I love this podcast, and it's always a pleasure to catch up with you personally.